you and Eddie Van Halen were talked about in the same sentence. And
Mhm.
now it makes sense to me because you were playing out of those same
Venues.
different, completely different tones, but
Mhm.
those same modified Marshall amps. So
Yes.
that's very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. I like it a lot. It's like talking about the old days and playing with Van Halen and stuff. Was a good time. Was a great time.
In the Trenches with Ryan Roxie.
What's happening, rock and rollers? Ryan Roxie here. It feels great to be back into the trenches, in the trenches here with the new trenches of our home base here in South Africa. What a way to kick things off. We had legendary guitarist Mick Mars for a sit down. And I might be wearing different glasses in the interview because of the glare. So I can hardly wait to see what the comments look like for that. But I had this great intro for the Mick Mars in the Trenches episode, but I thought maybe just shoot it a little bit more off the cuff because Mick gave us a bunch of gold. If you're a Motley fan, if you're a Mick Mars fan, if you're a guitar fan, you're going to get a lot of cool sound bites, a lot of cool information, and hopefully you'll walk away a little bit more inspired and with a little bit of a different perspective about the man, the myth, the legend, Mick Mars. So, without any further delay, let's dive into the trenches with this exclusive interview with Mick Mars. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day, because I know the schedule's getting busy right now with the new record. Ryan Roxie here with Mick Mars, guitarist that everyone knows, household name. I'm not going to lie, I'm doing this interview a little bit of a fanboy. I'm going to say I grew up a lot listening to Mick Mars, very influential for me, not just the guitar riffing, the guitar tone, but all the parts that you play and stuff. So I just want to say welcome to the show, Mick, and it's great to have you on.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you for having me, man.
Well, first things first, the name of the new album is called The Other Side of Mars. The obvious question, is there life on Mars?
Only me. No. No.
That's good. You know what? For some people, all they want is Mick Mars, to be the one guy on Mars.
Well, you know how it is. I don't know. It's fun to be alone, I guess. I don't know.
Is it fun? Is it actually fun to be? It must be fun to be putting out this solo album because my real question, of course, we know there is life on Mars. It's you, Mick Mars. But was the album, is what you heard in your head what you ended up hearing on the other side of Mars?
Close. When I recorded the album, the parts, I kind of like made it purposely diverse, more diverse than just like one kind of song, I guess. Mostly to show like there's many different types of music in my head. I mean,
yeah. Well, that's why I say you hear as guitar players, we constantly hear things going on in our heads, and it's nice to be able to translate those crazy sounds, crazy riffs on to some sort of digital file. It used to be for us recording tape, but then it actually becomes close to what we heard in our heads. And I think one of those reasons is, you coming full circle. It seems like things have come full circle because on this album, Mick Mars, The Other Side of Mars, you went back to an old friend, producer and mixer, Michael Wagener. Who also happened to work on one of the albums that's really influential for me, Too Fast for Love. And you also work with Corey Marks, and you created something new. You created something special, something completely Mick Mars. What was it like teaming up with Michael Wagener again?
It was awesome. I mean, Michael and I have been friends and know each other forever and ever. There he is. Forever and ever, like well over 40 years. And he actually, when I first met him, I was like in a cover band, but let's cut that short and move on to the Motley Too Fast for Love. I had called Michael to come out, because the guy that recorded the album originally messed it up horribly. So Michael fixed it. The first time that we actually recorded with me was on that Too Fast for Love, with Michael fixing the mixes and the tones, and it was just a mess. And he fixed all that up, and he did my final album as well. So first,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, well, let's not call it a final album, because I think there's a lot of music still inside that head.
Oh,
your latest album. Your latest album.
Yeah, I was talking about Michael, because he's retired.
Oh.
I was the last album he did, and he retired. So it's the first.
I did not know that.
The full circle thing.
Very much full circle. Okay, yeah. I did not know that.
Yeah.
All right. So Michael Wagener has retired on the other side of Mars, basically.
Correct.
And that's a kind of a nice place for him to be right now, the other side of Mars.
Yeah.
How did he have to? Do you feel that this time around, what was he working with you on? Obviously, he didn't have to do as much work than the first album that you did. This last album, what was his main, your main collaboration with each other?
With Michael?
Yes.
Michael was, he recorded every song, with the exception of L.A. Noir. So he recorded all that stuff. He got it all down and everything else, and then he's
does what he does.
That's what he
magic. Yeah. Sprinkled his magic dust all over.
He records this stuff correctly, like dry. So you have like a place to go, you record the tracks to all sound really great, and then tweak them even more. So that that's right?
That's what, Mick, that's what we were talking about. Just two guitar players talking like we're in the back of a bus or backstage. But that's the thing about recording that might be a little bit different today with some of the younger bands, because people don't record dry and with direct mics in real amplifiers. There's a lot of plugins. There's a lot of recorded with effects. And I think the approach that you're using, that Michael Wagener used, is a little bit more of an old school approach. And I love that old school approach, because that's kind of what our favorite records were recorded like,
Oh yeah.
So the first three singles, you have three singles released so far. Loyal to the Lie. One is Loyal to the Lie. Two, Right Side of Wrong.
Yes.
And three, the latest, is Undone. So I do have a favorite of those three, but my question to you, is there a favorite, or are they all your children? And how do you view those songs?
Well, I view as Loyal to the Lie as like a heavy, banger song that, to really introduce like my solo thing is One Direction. Right Side of Wrong is a little more like a middle of the road kind of a thing. It's a little lighter, but it's a whole different direction. And Undone is actually a direction that I really want to take myself into, which is like, more, I guess to say like an orchestrated kind of a thing. Not progressive, heavy as I can get it,
but dipping your toe into orchestrated, more layered sonic sounds.
Yes. And instead of like guitar solos, like on Undone, they kind of weave in and out, and not like as fast as I can play, that kind of stuff. There's a place for it, but I'm not that guy,
Right. Well, to me, you've always been the guy that wrote the right part for the right song, that lifted up the song. And my favorite guitarists always do. But I like the way that you just phrased it, that Loyal to the Lie sort of set the tone of the record. Right Side of Wrong, that your second single sort of is like, very catchy melodic track. And then number 3 explores sort of where Mick Mars is going. So 3 singles so far, but very many more to come, because we are here with Mick Mars, and the full album is set for release just real soon, late February. And
February 23rd.
There you go. So mickmarsofficial.com, you can pre-order it right now, or wherever you're listening to this, you can pre-order it and go to it right now. As a guitarist to another guitarist, and obviously a guitarist like me that looked up to a guitarist like you, are you the same guitarist today that you were on the first Motley Crue album? And what I mean to say that is that you're known for the massive guitar tone and your style of playing. So has that style of playing and massive tone, has it changed over the years, or has it remained the same formula for you, Mick Mars?
Well, I've grown a lot, playing wise and stuff, because it's like a lot of years, to go over and playing. And of course, you got to, reinvent yourself, or, that kind of stuff. But as far as my tone, that was my most important part from listening to other guitar players that have great tone, Leslie West and Jeff Beck and those kind of guys. That was my ultimate thing, is like playing the way that I play, was from, lots of blues influences, lots of melodic shit, and that kind of stuff. But tone has always been very important to me.
I'm gonna definitely talk about the players a little bit later. But now that you got me going on the tone, and that massive tone that you had, because I was actually lucky enough to play out of your rig. Good old Bobbio let me play out of that rig once or twice at a sound check over the years, and it was just massive. What was your go-to amplifier and guitar, from the early days all the way up to today?
In the earlier days of Motley, I used Marshalls, and I still do, but they're mixed with 7 different amplifiers, several different heads for several different kind of tones, mixed, a dry tone, a wet tone, a kind of a little bit of chorus or flanging to make the notes like wider,
Right.
and project, but without hurting your ears. It's just loud, powerful, hit you in the chest kind of a thing. And I was finally happy with that palette.
I always say use a different guitar, use the right guitar for the right song. Now I'm going to start adding use the right amplifier for the right song. Did you use most of those amps on the making of The Other Side of Mars?
I used the Rivera, which is more of the bottom end thick thing, on my stuff. Soldano, Marshall, High Watt, Magnetone, VHTs to power, some stuff. I'm
loving it. The guitar geeks that are listening right now are loving this, and there's just a couple other people are going, "What are they talking about?" No, we're talking about amplifiers.
Yeah, absolutely good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, my go-to rig these days is a Hughes and Kentner. I use that for my most powerful stuff. We do use a bunch of different stuff live, whether it's with Alice. My solo stuff, though, I'm always tending to go back to my Hughes and Kentner or the standby Marshall rig, the JCMs. 800 has always been one of my favorites as well.
Yeah, I got
the
Jose modded ones. Remember
the real one,
the real ones, yes, from the the mid to late 1960s, I guess. The A's and B heads, the ones that with the, of course, the serial number starts with A or B or whatever. Those were Jose's favorite to do this mod to. So,
and did you know Jose back in the, like you knew him in the early days? Obviously, you and Eddie were probably Eddie Van Halen folks because he used those amps as well.
Yes.
I think that the both of you were probably the most well-known guitar players at that time using those amps.
Yeah, well,
up and comers.
Yeah,
you young kids, you kids.
Not I wasn't, but he was. I met Ed when he was 19 years old.
Oh my God!
And I was, when we were both doing that cover stuff, and I'm sure you're familiar with Golden West Ballroom, right?
Of course,
we played there a lot, and we played at Gazzari's a lot, and it's like, you're going to go down the street one day, Ed, like there to the whiskey, right? So but yeah, we played around with lots of stuff. Hey, there's Ed.
We have a little picture of Ed. I've showed Mick a little picture of Ed, because back in the day, let's be honest, in the club days, both you and Eddie Van Halen were talked about in the same sentence, and now it makes sense to me because you were playing out of those same completely different tones, but those same modified Marshall amps. Yes. So that's very cool.
Yeah, I like it a lot. It's like talking about the old days and playing with Van Halen and stuff. Was a good time. It was a great time.
Good. Well, you know what? I'll take you from the old school all the way to the new school for this new question, because I'm going to apply it to the bands today. Okay. So, and what is considered rock music today has changed significantly in recent years. And are there artists today that you admire or that may have had an influence on the current music that you're playing? Because right now I actually did see a poll, ranker.com. They were ranking Paramore, bands like Paramore, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and nothing against those bands at all, but they were, saying they were the top bands of 2023, 20 rock bands. And for me, rock has changed significantly if that's the case. So are there any rock bands that you feel are influencing music and perhaps yourself these days, Mick?
That's a tough question for me, because I mostly listen to the old school guys.
Okay.
But like I say, it's like, no, I really don't listen to a lot of new stuff. I mean, like the new black metal and that stuff, I hear it, but I don't sit down and listen to it, of course. But
it's sort of in your orbit, but it's not. You're sitting down. But
yeah.
Fair enough. You know what? Fair enough, because you are Mick Mars and you have influence from the old school to this day. So what is one of those favorite sit down albums that you will listen to just for relaxing?
Just for relaxing,
or just for revving up? I don't know.
You would freak out if I told you.
Well, tell us.
Chopin.
As my good friend Paul Blazik would say, Chopin.
Yes. Same guy.
Yeah, he makes a vodka, Chopin. No, but it's spelled as, for those of you that don't know, Chopin is a classical composer, and I thought that Vic, our producer, would put up. There you go, Vic. You put up a picture of Chopin. That's perfect. And so that's how you relax and get revved up.
Yeah, for relaxing and that kind of stuff. But I listen to a lot of different things. You know, I listen to Robbie Williams. You know, I like Robbie Williams.
There you go.
Me and My Monkey. You know, that's a cool song. But you know, I listen to a lot. You know, I listen to old stuff from, you know, you could probably tell by L.A. Noir that I like, you know, old 40s music, like Cab Calloway and some of those kind of cats, you know. So yeah, I listen to a lot of stuff, you know.
Well, you know what? I feel the spectrum runs deep. And there you go. Our producer just put a picture of a
Skeeter
little bit of,
Bunton, yeah.
yeah.
He
little
was the
Skeeter
first
Bunton.
guy that I ever seen like play live. Country western guy, of course. But yeah, I saw him at a 4-H fair when I was and lived in Indiana.
That's
and I went,
cool.
I'm doing that.
So wait a second. Skeeter was the guy that made you decide to do what I want to do that.
Yes, absolutely, hands down. Not Elvis, Skeeter, that guy right there. Skeeter Bunton. And I saw him at that 4-H fair, and my hair sucks.
You know what?
And,
I'm having a bad hair day too, Mick. If it's any consolation, that's why I got the beanie on.
Me too.
I'm having a bad hair that I have left day. How about that?
Yeah, well, yeah, less update, yes.
So that guy Skeeter
Yes.
basically made you want to become the guitar player that you are today.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was the Frampton Comes Alive album.
Really?
Yeah, with that purple hair silhouette and that Les Paul
and
custom.
How old were you when that came out?
That was a 75 or 76. It was right there. So I was 10 years old.
Oh.
So a baby. But see, there's those moments, and I get it. And you know what? Another album, you know, cover that made me want to do what I do today. Unfortunately, it was of someone's crotch. But I think, you know, it was of someone's crotch. And I think, you know, the album I'm talking about, because one of the albums that made me want to do what I do is Too Fast for Love. And like I said, I was very influenced by your guitar playing. I thought, you know, the parts, the way that things were. And again, that might be another Michael Wagener trick that he did with the doubling, and you panned your guitars hard right and hard left. And I don't know if it was the same guitar part, but it was some doubled parts, and it was basically that was the tone, and that those parts that you played, that's what made me want to be in a one guitar player band.
Right. One guitar player bands are the best. You don't have to step on each other's toes, you know.
But that's why I'm in a 3 guitar player band now.
The 3 or 4 guitar player bands.
Well, that's what I'm in now. I love it. I love it. But okay, here's a good question that brings us back to the other side of Mars. Mick, on this album, if there just is a chance there's going to be a show, maybe sprinkled here and there, would you be the only guitar player in that band?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I definitely would have, well, you know, probably not, but I would be the main guitar player. I'd like to have, you know, like the album is. I have a couple of singers on the album, but they're both multi-instrumentalists. And Paul is as well, you know, Paul Taylor. He's a multi-instrumentalist and keyboards and stuff. So I would have, you know, instead of, you know, how the big thing now is like stems and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
If you have the right musicians and the right stuff, and hire, you know, or use more people, for crying out loud. Right?
Don't use backing tracks. Use more musicians.
That's right. That's what I say. You know.
Okay.
You know, cut down on your lights and give them music. You know, here's a pretty light show. Well, okay. I mean, you know, here's the truth. Okay, when I see Alice, right, and we toured with, you know, you guys a lot.
Yeah.
And I see his props, and I see the lighting, and I see this stuff, but I hear his album like it's supposed to be, you know?
Yeah.
And then, you know, that's what I really, really appreciate is that honesty that Alice is, you know, and you guys are.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you saying that, Mick. But the thing is, everything, it always comes back to the strength of the song. You can have all the explosions, all the smoke, all the lasers, all the props, like you say, but if you don't have the strength of the song and a kick-ass vibe coming across in the music, it doesn't mean anything. So that's, I think, the strengths of you know, the bands you've been in, the bands I've been in, and the new band that will embark with Mick Mars solo. As the release date of the upcoming album, The Other Side of Mars, approaches us. It's coming up real quick, end of February 23rd. If you're listening to this and it's past 23rd, February 23rd, you can get it right now at mickmarsofficial.com. Mick Mars fans are chomping at the bit to discover exactly what Mick they are going to get. Tell us a little bit about these various musical styles that we were talking about earlier that you have incorporated while recording. I mean, there's even a piano ballad on this album, Memories, if I'm okay to say the song. If not, I'll bleep it out. But rumor has it that you played piano on this piano ballad, and that's it, folks. You got a Mick Mars piano solo ballad. Can we talk about it, or do you want to remain in a surprise?
Yes, but I'll have to, before we get into it, I have to say that it wasn't me that played the piano, it was Paul Taylor.
Okay.
I had there he is. So I had originally written the song all guitar, right? So all the melodies, the solos, even Brian Gamboa had played violin where my guitar solo was, but he's playing the guitar solo that I had for the song. And with
that's an old Mark Bolan T-Rex trick. That's a Tony Visconti trick to double the guitar solo with a viola or a violin.
But it was I didn't play on that song at all. It's like
he played your part though.
Yes, I wrote the whole parts. Paul had put it to piano.
Okay.
Jacob came in and sang it and added violins because he goes, I can't leave that out. That's one of my favorites. And you know, I might re-release the song as it was with all guitar, but
as the demo. Well, it should definitely be the B side at one point. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I wanted to take a chance with that and go like that. I don't want to hear any more. I don't want to hear any drums. I don't want to hear any bombastic, you know, big booms before you come in. Just leave it simple like it is.
Piano. I don't want to call it a power ballad. I'll call it just a piano ballad. And I love the fact that you wrote it. And I love the fact that the man that played piano on it, Mr. Paul Taylor, I have a little history with. He was the first guy I played with in Alice Cooper Band way back in '96 when I joined. He was the guitar player, singer. He's like the what do they call it? A multi-purpose guy. He can do a lot of different things. He could probably play bass and sing lead if you needed him to. He's the all-purpose guy, the secret weapon, if you will. So Paul Taylor, and a Nashville guy, which you are as well. I heard, rumor has it, that he was the one that happened to introduce you to the singer that sang on the majority of the record. I know that Brian Gamboa sang on like I think 3 of the tracks, but Paul Taylor introduced you to Jacob Bunton. And how did that come about?
Well, I had been searching along for months and months and maybe even years. I don't know, but for a singer, and I mean, these guys could sing, but they weren't exactly what I was hearing. So I asked Paul, I go, you know anybody? He goes, yeah, I know this guy, you know, Jacob Bunton. And I go, well, let me hear him. And he sang on I think Loyal to the Lie. Just and I heard it and I went like, perfect. That's the guy. That it isn't like it was a very clean, clear voice, the way you could hear what he was doing, powerful, but not the squeaky, squawky, and not the rah, rah kind of voice, which was a little different that I wanted to hear. And with Brian, he sang on 2 of the songs, Killing Breed and Undone. And I wanted, with that particular voice, I didn't want like a Jacob style voice. I wanted a more of a raspy kind of an angsty thing, because the songs are about that angst and desperation, which is what I wanted to get across. So he fit that bill. There he is.
Yeah. Nice picture of Brian there.
Yeah, look at him.
Handsome guy.
Yeah.
And a hell of a voice, because he's got that voice that you were searching for, especially on the newest single, which is Undone, which is part of the Mick Mars album, Other Side of Mars. And huge shout out to everybody in the band. Of course, we talked about Paul, Jacob Bunton, vocalist, Brian, the vocalist as well. But you also had bassist Chris Collier and corn drummer Ray Luzier as well. Yes. How did those guys fit into your world? Were they Nashville guys, or did you recruit them from somewhere else? How did that work out?
Ray, that was Michael Wagener. Introduced me kind of like indirectly to Ray. Ray lives here in Nashville. He's the corn drummer, of course, and he jumped on this bandwagon quick. And between him, I met Chris Collier. He is a guy that mixed and mastered my album, right? And and played bass. So with that rhythm section I had with Ray and Chris, just like freed me up just to do anything, to go anywhere, But those 2 guys together is nuts. I mean, it's so powerful. It's like those, like God. When I was a kid, it was like Ginger Baker and Jack Bruce.
There you go. Ginger and Jack. I love it. Sounds like a good drink. Sounds like a nice cocktail.
God, man. What's the matter with it?
So those are high praises. That's high praise. The guys that played on your album, when you can compare them to such greats like that. So I mean,
you know how it is. I mean, you got a really good rhythm section. That tightness of the bass and the drums. The kick.
They have to love.
You're fiddling around with your guitar trying to fill the holes, and that don't work. You're a guitar player. You're supposed to be playing melodies and doing this,
We're the ones that are supposed to be playing wrong notes.
That's right.
That's our style.
The wrong notes, yeah.
The drummer and the bass player have to lock in, so it gives us the affordability to sort of, do our thing.
Yeah. More freedom for us to go like, hey, what happens if I try this? Or if you got that rhythm section behind you,
Well, I'm glad that you got that rhythm section on the album, and we'll see if it takes you on into the future to more albums, or might even say a show here or there. We'll see. But big shout out to the band, Paul, Chris, Ray, Brian, as well as Jacob Bunton on vocals. We'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more with Mick Mars. Hello, Ryan Roxie here from the Alice Cooper Band, and I'd like to talk a little bit about one of my favorite things, playing guitar. Here at the RGA headquarters, which stands for Roxie Guitar Army, by the way, we've put together a guitar learning system that will get you playing and understanding the guitar faster than any other teaching program out there. We call it the System 12 Guitar Method. And it's designed to make the most out of your time, your effort, and your passion for learning guitar. By combining new school technology, old school mentoring, and the number 12, we have invented a new way to teach guitar. And over the past year, we have helped so many people who wanted to start or continue their guitar journey do exactly that. Now, we'd like to help you. There's never been a better time to start learning guitar than right now. If you think it's too hard, the System 12 makes it easy. If you think it'll take too much time, the System 12 will have you playing in 12 weeks. And if you think it's too expensive, the entire System 12 costs less than what one private guitar lesson would cost you at your local music store. Check out the official site or the links below in the description of this video to join the RGA and get started on your guitar journey with the System 12 guitar method. Now, let's get back into the trenches for some more rock and roll. Enjoy the show, enjoy the ride. Mwah! That's it. All right, Mick Mars, let's talk just a second, not about the other side of Mars, but have a little true false quiz time, if that's okay with you.
Okay.
True or false, fact or fiction, you were responsible for naming the band Motley Crüe.
True.
There you go. That is a fact. But it wasn't actually those guys. It came from a former band.
Yes.
Would that be true? And what was
True.
that band called?
They turned into Whitehorse.
I love it. Okay. So Whitehorse was the actual Motley Crüe.
The original Motley Crüe. Way back.
and at that point, were you Mick Mars or were you another alias? Because you've used a few aliases over the years.
That was my childhood, where I was born. My real name, I guess.
Okay. What now was Mick Mars? Where was Mick Mars born then? I dare to say Mars.
Well, Mars was built in California.
Some sort of laboratory. All right. And now did Mick Mars come as later in life, or was it always an alias, sort of floating around finding the right time?
Yeah, it came well after Whitehorse was over.
Okay.
And then there was like another little band after that called Vendetta that I was in for. Maybe they were together for a year or so. You can see my hair's changed and everything else. Into Mick Mars.
Still looking good. You had a good day. And that's where the birth of Mick Mars came, right with there. Vendetta.
Right there.
Got it. Right there in Vendetta. Okay, let's move on. All right. You secretly appear on the Aerosmith album Pump. True or false?
True.
True. Now, how do you secretly appear on that album?
Because my amplifiers were so loud that Bob Ezrin, you know him, he comes over to the studio in my studio with Bob Rock and goes, turn the guitars down. They're going all over the tracks and stuff. So there you go. Yeah, it's true.
Did you do the Hollywood turn down where you put your hand on the knob and then you go like this and go, oh yeah, no, sounds good.
I didn't turn it on down at all.
You didn't even do it.
Nope.
That's the way you played. That's the way you play. Loud and proud, Mick Mars. Doesn't matter if it was back then or right now on the newest album, Other Side of Mars, folks. Yes. We're talking a little bit of truth and false and fact or fiction with him. Okay, now this is going to be a tricky one for you. Okay, and it's going to take a little visual for those of you to follow at home if you're listening to this on the radio. Actress Slavica Jovan, who played Gozar in the movie Ghostbusters, influenced your face painting makeup on stage. And we have a picture to prove it, I believe.
No, not really. No.
But do you remember the movie Ghostbusters?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that was false. So no influence from actress Slavica. Sorry,
no,
Slavica.
Because my makeup and the band was in 81. I believe Ghostbusters was in 84.
Oh, you stumped me. You know what? I told my producer that, and then he insisted. No, I got busted.
Nope. He copied me.
So Slavica copied you. All right. You should write her a letter. So what did inspire the face painting for stage? And is it something that you think you'll always continue to do?
Painting my face?
Yeah.
No. It's ugly enough as it is.
I think we paint our faces enough every single day and every single.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well, okay.
It's fun though. You get up and just like scar your face up with,
whatever.
Yeah.
Give you good cheekbones. You had really good cheekbones, I'll tell you, with that makeup. So, last true, false, fact or fiction question for Mick Mars. Mick Mars is planning a world tour that will stop in every city in every continent, including Antarctica.
Nah, that would be a false.
There you go. But hopefully a limited show, maybe here or there. Have you entertained the thought of the idea about a live show at all?
I could do one-off, or a residency, something that's like a little easier on my body,
Yeah.
At my age, with ankylosing spondylitis, it's a little rough.
Well, we're going to talk about that in the next segment, but I'm glad that you survived this fact or fiction series with us right now. Thank you very much, Mick Mars.
All righty.
New album comes out February. I'm already living in July, Mick. The new album comes out February 23rd. It might already be out. You get it at mickmarsofficial.com. You can pre-order it now, or you can already buy it from there. All right, Mick Mars, we talked a little bit about the word that I tried to pronounce it I tried to actually practice pronouncing it. It must be so much harder living with it. You said it earlier in the segment, ankylosing spondylitis.
Ankylosing spondylitis.
We'll just call it that bitch of a thing called AS that you happen to have been dealing with for years.
Yes.
And this is an actual quote from you. And this to me is the most inspirational thing about you is, as long as my brain and my hands and legs work, I'm never stopping. So even confronted with this AS, how do you handle the day-to-day with such determination and this positive attitude that you have?
Well, it all boils down to really, music. It's therapeutic, I guess. I don't know.
It is.
And I don't know. I just music. it keeps me going. I don't know how to say it any differently.
Yeah, and that's what's kept you going on and on, is the day-to-day playing, the coming up with riffs, what you hear in your head, translating that into albums, and then releasing them out to the world, which you're doing right now with The Other Side of Mars, the newest album. Do you have any advice to give to others suffering from similar inflammatory diseases like that?
I get quite a bit of mail, on X or Twitter, saying that these people suffer from the same thing, and the best advice is like, just you can't not feel it, because it's really painful. I mean, it's really painful. But when they start going like, I'm a guitar player and I do this and do this, and I have the same disease as you, it's like, good. Put all of your energy into music. You're going to have this. It is what it is. Just keep doing your music, man. That's the way to kind of escape for a while. Take you to a different level of, put your own power into it. Don't let it overpower you.
That is such a positive attitude. That's such a positive, good positive advice for people. And it really always does come down to the music. Yes. And now, to get in this darker, let's go, if we're going to go down the hole, and we're going to, go down the black hole into the other side of Mars. Let's dive deep, because in a recent interview you mentioned that you didn't think you'd live longer than 8 to 10 more years. But facing your mortality is obviously a really heavy issue, but we have to all do it at some point. So After
like
these
it.
great, you what? You like it?
I like it. You know why? Because if we all lived, 400 or 500 years, guess what? We'd still be in reed boats. Thank God that older people, pass on to leave a world for the younger to take what is there and make it bigger and better. And, everything, if they got we took it to somewhere. Our generation took the world to somewhere. Next generation, I love it. I think it's the coolest thing ever.
You know what? I love that answer. I don't even want to ask the next question because I want to leave it at that, but I'm going to anyway, because let's see if we get even more gold out of it. Because I mean, after so many great rock icons pass away,
Mhm.
people always write articles about what made them great.
Mhm.
But you yourself, how would you want to be remembered?
Well, hopefully as like, just maybe I don't know, maybe an influence. I don't want to say an innovator because I didn't invent music. I don't know who did, but I like them. I don't know, just for what I've done in my life, I guess.
Yeah.
Not
And
anything. I don't know.
I'll tell you right now, you definitely influenced a ton of guitar players, myself being one of them. So thank you for all the years of playing guitar and the continued years that you do have playing guitar, especially that you can hear right now on your newest album, The Other Side of Mars. All right, Mick Mars, the new album, The Other Side of Mars, coming out right now. Or if you're listening to this on the radio on delay or just somewhere down the YouTube rabbit hole, it might have already come out. But either way, you can check it out at mickmarsofficial.com. I want to cover a little bit of Alice Cooper history because, again, we have that in common.
Yes.
Both of us have played on Alice Cooper's albums. You yourself were part of Alice's Hey Stupid release in 1991,
Yes.
and you played on the song Die For You. How did that come about, and what is your take on doing guitar guest work?
Well, I originally started playing or working on that song with just really no intent at all. And Nikki brought Alice over because Alice was looking for, I guess, some co-writers and whatever it was back then. And it's like he came over and heard the song and liked it. Went to Desmond Child, right? And so, to structure it properly, because mine was just really a rough idea, And so Alice and Desmond fixed it up to be presentable. and then Alice invited me down to the studio to play the solo on it. And I had my brand new old 1958 Les Paul that I just bought. So I brought it down and played that solo.
Nice. Did it perform as well as you thought in 1958 Les Paul would?
Yeah, that's my 71. That's a 71 Les Paul. Yeah, but yeah, it did. But I don't have that guitar anymore. I traded. No, it was okay. But you know how you get guitars that are like, they sound really good, and then other ones you go, oh man, I'm disappointed.
Well, you just pointed, because our producer showed us a picture of you with your 1971 Les Paul. I'm going to go a tiny bit off topic right now because there are guitar geeks like myself listening right now. And that 71 Les Paul, that's considered part of the Norlin era, because
yes,
it's not the good era. Right.
Yeah.
Because they have the sandwich bodies and they have this and that. I have my guitar that I call my first girlfriend, which is 72 Gold Top, came out of that same era, but it sounded great. So that 71 must have sounded pretty good as well. Right.
I did a lot of work. I'll tell you what I did. If we got time, and I'll make it quick. I changed the pickup.
Oh yeah.
But I kept it. It was the T-top, right? And then
Right.
I unconnected everything except for the volume knob on the back pickup. And that's where that tone came from. So it's like, yeah. And
it was just balls out. It was just balls out bridge pickup.
Yep. That's
there
right.
You go. All right. That's all you needed on the and it lasted. Did it appear on a few albums?
Yes, on Too Fast for Love, of course, and Shout at the Devil, and I think on at least it came on a few songs on Theater of Pain.
Is that still on your? Is it still in your arsenal somewhere, or is it somewhere in the archives?
No, it's I went through a tough time, and I sold it to Hard Rock Cafe.
Okay, so it's hanging somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, that's good. We should go take it off the wall. I have a few guitars at Hard Rock as well. Let's go take them off the wall at one point.
That's it.
I love it.
That's that.
Yes.
I put that tape on there, right? That was the caution tape that they put around, the
policing
bandsaws and all that stuff, to stay out of this area. Funny.
So that was your artwork on that. I love it. Yeah. Well, let's move back into the band era and you being so much focused on one band for most of your career. If you did have a chance to put a super group together, like any musicians you could, past or present, what names would be involved in that super group?
We're
going to go for some influences now.
Everybody that I would want in my band would kick my butt.
Well, what about it for the rhythm section? Would you say Ginger Baker and Jack Bruce, or who would you want as that rhythm section?
Somebody like that, Ginger Baker, Jack Bruce, John Bonham, John Paul Jones, those
guys, yes.
And real and live, and their sound is like, big. I like it like that, and natural and raw. That's the kind of musicians that I like the best, I guess. Let's throw Hendrix into the mix, or Jeff Beck into the mix, and then that means that I sit on the stool off the offside of the stage.
That's funny. Well, would you have any vocalists for this hypothetical supergroup, past or present, that you would involve?
Who I like the best? There's so many. Any.
Who makes you want to drive your car?
Here's an off the wall one that I really like his voice. Jethro Tull. That guy's voice is amazing to me. It's like when I hear him, even back at the old days of stand up, when I was like, I was young then, even I was young. But yeah, that kind of stuff, and it's like Ian Anderson. That guy. I love his voice.
An old school guy for me that doesn't get enough appreciation as a rock vocalist, John Fogerty.
Yes.
A voice like that.
Yeah.
Has a little bit of growl, a little bit of grit, a lot of attitude.
And you know who else? I can't remember his name, but the Lovin' Spoonful, that guy. That singer, Hot Town Summer in the City. That guy, that Eric Burton. Well,
see, was it Eric Burton?
No,
is he right?
But I'm saying Eric Burton is another guy.
Okay. Who is it, Vic? Singer of Lovin' Spoonful. Oh my God, I got my producer jumping around crazy. He's internet crazy. When you said hot Summer in the City, I thought you were at one point. I thought you were almost going to say Nick Gilder, Hot Child in the City vocalist in Canada.
Well, that one too.
That one too. Yes.
I'm
so many of them.
Some good voices.
I'm always been a huge Robin Zander boy.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. He
Cheap Trick.
sang on Robin Zander, Sebastian Bach, and Steve Tyler all sang on, and a couple other guys sang on Dr. Feelgood album. Right?
Ah,
yes. And so
you can hear their voices on it.
Yeah.
My next question is like completely. Oh, it was the singer of Love and Spoonful, Joe Butler. Thanks to our producer, Vic.
Thank you.
So there you go. Here's a question that might be impossible to answer out of all these names that we've dropped, because what four heads would go on your Mount Rushmore of rock and roll? In other words, who do you think are the four, if you could only pick four most influential rockers, who has been the most influential and inspirational to you as a musician? And maybe we can add five.
Guitar wise or any kind of wise?
Any wise Mount Rushmore of rock and roll.
I guess I'll have to do guitars. Jimi Hendrix and Jeff Beck, Michael Bloomfield. There's I don't know.
Okay, that's three. We got one more head. Mick Mars. I nominate Mick Mars. Put him on. No! Well, we're sitting here talking with Mick Mars. His new album, The Other Side of Mars, comes out February 23rd. It's either already out if you're watching this through the YouTube rabbit hole, or it's coming out very shortly. Mick Mars Official. You get it right there, mickmarsofficial.com. You don't understand, Mick. I actually had your album as one of my top 10 albums growing up. I did it through the years. And 1982, Motley Crüe, Too Fast for Love, your guitar playing, that was one of those influential ones for me. I had the Leather Records version as well.
That's the one Michael did.
I love it.
And it's like Roy Thomas Baker, of course, did the Electra one because, of course, the record company wanted a bigger name.
Something else, yes.
And then later they found out Michael Wagener. But after especially after he did Skid Row, that album sold 10 million, right straight out of the box. Michael Wagener produced it.
So yeah, I mean, it's great that you guys have remained friends. Were you friends with Michael even back in the Accept days?
Yes.
Okay.
With Udo Duckschneider was in the band then.
Love Udo. We love Udo. Yeah. He's a favorite.
Ryan, check this out. I could have been the guitar player in Accept or Motley Crüe.
There you go. There's my golden ticket. Probably nobody knows it. Nobody knows except you, and now the rest of the world. How did that turn about? Wait a second. How did you get in that room?
Don Dokken had introduced me to Michael and Udo together, but Udo was kind of sketchy with one of his guitar players, and he was looking for a different guitar player. They were considering me, and it was like I could have done it, or I could have went Motley Crüe way, because Motley Crüe wasn't even formed, right? I was still in that band Vendetta when I met them, but there was that crossroad right there to where I choose, and I did. I chose my Motley Crüe band. not to be mean or anything, because Udo and I are so good friends too.
And Udo's great, and it is a great vocalist and a great guy. We've had him on the podcast before. We've had him on the show before. So, wow, I didn't know that. And this all came about because I told you what an influence your album made it into my top 10.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was growing up, I listened to those albums, Cheap Trick albums, your albums as well. As a kid, what were the albums that you listened to and you mentioned it earlier, the one guitar player that said you saw him on stage and said, that's the guy that I want to be a rock and roller. But did you have any early albums that you would play over and over that would reinforce the fact that you wanted to play guitar in a big band?
Lots of, Paul Butterfield blues band. Okay. Because my style actually came from blues. Skeeter Bond, it's country music, but that look that he had on the stage, that glittery, stuff like grasping, but the blues pulled me in really, really hard. And the Paul Butterfield blues band and all of those blues guys, so good. Muddy Waters.
That's something that both you and Alice Cooper have in common. You guys both huge fans of Paul Butterfield.
Yeah.
And the blues band. In him for harmonica, Alice was like a huge harmonica fan. Yeah. And obviously you with the guitar. That's great. That's great to hear. Speaking of the blues, there was a lot of before you announced this album, you said you've been working on this solo album, The Other Side of Mars. There was a lot of speculation and rumors going that it might be a blues album because you do have that, what fans were expecting. And of course, do they get a taste of the blues on The Other Side of Mars, or is it strictly rock, or is there a spectrum of everything on this album?
I would have to say L.A. Noire is about the closest to a blues-ish kind of a song, but it isn't really. It's a 6/4 time, it's more of that sleazy, slinky, sleuthy 1948 or 1940s sleuth kind of music that you'd hear on those old black and white movies from those days. Yeah. But who knows? I'm like on the next album I'm working on, I could throw a full-blown blues song on it, along with the other stuff, just for diversity, because I don't want to stay locked into one thing, I was, you know how it is, Ryan. You're a guitar player. You got to step out of the box and just go like, man, I want to do this over here. I got a good chance to do that now, for you to.
That's great. And I'm glad that you said perhaps on new albums, next album, because you're already thinking ahead. You're already thinking those riffs inside your head are moving forward to something else. Although we are going to celebrate and listen to all the songs that are out on the other side of Mars. Speaking of black and white, there seems to be a lot of black and white imagery in the videos that you've put out so far with the first 3 singles. Is that by design? Or are you sort of just a noir type of guy?
Well, yeah, I like black and white, and besides, I look better in black and white. I almost look younger, But, no, it's like, I just like that kind of a vibe, I guess, I always, when I was a kid, that's all I could see, black and white, but I don't see life as black and white,
That's cool.
Like we were talking
There's
about.
A lot of color in life.
Oh yeah.
Well, the
color,
the video. True. The music that you have in one of the videos, the imagery, there almost seems to be, and tell me if I'm reaching too far, because I might be a conspiracy theorist. There's a little bit of a spy versus spy vibe in one of the videos where you're in a white suit and a black suit.
Yes.
Now that's not Mick Mars, folks. That's an old Mad Magazine Spy versus Spy. But in the but that we're showing a picture of the Spy versus Spy, by the way. What did that have anything in your mind? Were you thinking of that, or were you just thinking of the 2 different types of imagery that black and white portrays?
Well, it's kind of like, the thing is in black and white, so it's like, I wanted the characters to be black and white. After I did it, I went like, oh, that's like Spy vs. Spy.
You did think that. Okay, good.
Yeah. And the thing about it is with that Spy vs. Spy kind of a thing and that kind of a vibe that I was trying to get across is like these guys could, like, if you see the beginning of the video, I unbuckle my head, right, and give it to the other guy, and the white and the black, exchange, and both sides think they're right, and the other side of right thinks it's wrong. But if they change heads, it would be the same thing but reversed. But what the video was really supposed to do that was left out, and it made me mad, was at the end, when the big poof goes off at the end on right side of wrong, it was supposed to be gray. The gray area that everybody forgets about, kind of
Gray
a vibe.
matter.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. I'm glad you just explained. I feel like we just sat in on a director's cut of,
Yeah.
the other side of wrong, the right side of wrong.
Yeah.
Is it?
There is none.
Yeah. It's all gray matter at the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on look. I mean, if you and I say I'd rather use this kind of guitar string. Nah, these strings are better. Nah, these strings. But then you switch, right? And you go like, it's the same, but it's not let's split them, 3 and 3.
I can't believe that we've talked so much about everything past, present, and even future, because there are possible new sounds and new songs inside that head. My question is, how long had this idea of making a solo album been in the works, or how long at least had it been in your mind? And do you consider this a one-off, or are there more Mick Mars solo albums spinning around in your head right now?
Well, I always wanted to do a solo album. I think anybody in a band really wants to do like a solo record of their own. Just to say like, here's like, I can do this too, kind of a thing. I really don't know how to explain it, but I really, I wanted to do a solo album for quite a while, and I played around with a lot of stuff, and then I listened back to it. And on the final tour that we did, actually freed me up to be able to buckle down and really work on a solo project. So as far as one solo, no, there's another one coming up, and
I like it.
Yeah,
all in the works.
I have 4 really solid ideas that are. You'll have to hear it.
Well, okay, let me ask you this. With The Other Side of Mars, 10-song album, includes even a really nice piano solo ballad that you wrote the parts to, and that Paul Taylor played piano on. With those 10 tracks, how did you know, okay, now this album is done, it's ready for release, this is The Other Side of Mars, and I can or do you ever step away from making an album?
I didn't get the last part.
Oh, I find it so hard to step away from recording an album. Like, when did you know in your heart that this album is done, I'm releasing it with these 10 tracks?
Because at the time when I had it ready to go 2 years ago, but there was a few stumbling blocks that I had to get by, and but it was ready a couple years ago, and I listened to it, and go like, yeah, this is about as far as I want to take this particular record. The next one will be like next step, you know what I mean? Like, a lack of a better way to describe it, walking up the stairs, I'm going to take each level of myself and how I think to a different step every time I release a record. I don't know if that's understandable or not. But
I do understandable because it goes into my next point of another quote I want to say to you that you said it. It's your quote. I try to keep growing. because if you stop learning new things, if you stop playing new things, if you close your mind, you're done. You have to keep moving. You have to keep creating.
Yes.
So what's your advice to people that might have hit that wall and like you're able some way to get to those next steps? Do you have any advice for other people that might have hit that wall and want to get onto those next steps?
Play what's in your head. Stop listening to other people. Stop listening to what is kind of like dictated to you on radio or whatever. Pick up your guitar and comes out of your head, man. Don't, to put those records away, put those other stuffs away, man. Just come out with your own self. But play what's here. Play what's here. Don't throw it away. Go.
Love it. That's perfect. That dude, that's great. That's all I need to hear, because that's all someone that's listening right now needed to hear, because they're going to pick up their guitar and start playing right now.
That's right.
So, has your songwriting approach changed, for you? I don't know about you. I don't know about you, but for myself, it's a combination. Sometimes the riff comes first. Sometimes a lyrical idea comes first. Sometimes it's the entire song comes in 5 minutes. We know that. What is it for you? Is it the riff? Is it the lyrical idea? Do you write the lyrics these days, or do you leave it to the singers and the producers to come up with their input?
I put in input, not a ton, but
with the lyrically,
like, yeah. Mostly I like base myself with the way I write off of a lick, but I also think about what this song should be about, and then like Paul comes in and I say that this song's about this, and put it down and write it. Well, this part's cool, this part, how we all do.
Yeah. But a musician like Paul Taylor can help put those parts together and organize it.
Oh yeah, he's a good orchestration guy.
Well, I mean, after so much, seemingly negative news coming out, in the world of late around your bands and all that kind of stuff, let's go for a little bit of positivity.
Absolutely.
Do you think there's going to be a time when everybody in Motley can look back and just, sort of, I don't know, how this literal group of Motley Crüe of musicians were able to lock in with each other and create music that influenced and entertained and inspired multiple generations? I mean, you guys will look back in fondness. Do you think there's a time that will happen? And is there an era of that band that you might want to look back and say, those were good times?
I think everybody has one of those, despite it, of the ups and downs, you go through. It's like, I think about it as like, even when you're like a kid, you think of the times of like, wow, this was really a great time for me. I think the same would go for any kind of group, even like, a 9-to-5 worker with the people that work together, and they have their spats, or family when they have their spats. Bands are the same. You have your good times and bad times, and remember the good times, but don't forget the bad times either.
Yep, I love it. That's good. Good advice, actually. What piece of advice have you ever gotten during your musical journey that's really helped you? And is it possible to pass that advice on to the younger generations of musicians? You've given me a lot of great quotes and a lot of great advice today, but do you have any that's been given to you that you can pass on?
Yes. One. And it's cool because I was jamming on stage at the Golden Bear, Huntington Beach, California.
I know that club too.
George Smith, Charlie Musselwhite, and those guys were there. All those blues guys. George Smith, right, comes up to me. He's a harmonica player too, singer, like old guy. And he goes, when you get up on that stage, you play your axe. Like you boot ass, like kind of a thing. Yeah. You play your axe. You know, I was like, okay. I was 17 years old. And he came up to me, and I'm on stage with some of my people that I was like, Charlie Musselwhite, George Smith, and Johnny, you know, what? It's crazy. And man, that was a really great time for me. And just to go like, you know, an eye opener, because I stumbled badly that night.
Well, he scared you. He made you play guitar scared straight. He really.
Yeah. It was. I choked, but
listen, it obviously worked in the long run. So maybe that advice, folks, for you out there, if you're listening and you need advice ever and how to persevere, is just close your eyes and imagine Mick Mars saying, "You play that axe."
That's right. But you know, today's words is like, what is it? Kick ass, Fred, kill it, or you know, the same kind of deal, I guess.
Right. Just go kill it.
Yeah.
Well, Mick, I mean, with this album, Other Side of Mars, it's great to know that there's going to be more music already inside your head. So there'll be future stuff. But right now, let's just celebrate the music right now that's on the other side of Mars. And Mick Mars, it's been great having you this entire time. Again, thanks for taking the time with me.
Well, thank you, Ryan, for having me here. I appreciate that too.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode of In the Trenches. If you'd like to see more, just keep on watching, tuning in to Ryan Roxie Official. We have a bunch of interviews on In the Trenches. But this new season, thank you, Mick Mars, for making it a great kickoff. What can I say? If you liked that, do the whole like and subscribe thing. And big shout out to all the people that were inspirational and helpful with this episode, including Joey, who helped put it together, Harlan over there, our illustrious producer, Vic Chalfant, doing great editing and obviously steering the ship in the right direction. Federica helped out with the script as well. So thank you very much. And of course, Mick Mars, you gave us gold. You did. And so we'll see you next time on the next episode. Until then, I'm Ryan Roxie. Enjoy the ride.
In the Trenches with Ryan Roxie.
That kid kicks ass.
Yeah, he does kick ass too, you know?
Yeah.
So the guy said to you, he said, "Kick, you play that axe?"
Uh-huh.
And that made you actually choke that night, though.
Yeah, it scared me. Because you know, when I was like learning the blues, those guys are who I would listen to. George Smith and Charlie Musselwhite and Paul Butterfield might as well have been there, you know, those guys. True. And it was like, holy shit, here I am with these guys, you know, and it was like, yeah, I mean, 17 years old, think about it, you know, scary. Those guys are.